Hello there. Hope your week is off to a good start. As we get going today, I want to ask you to do something that is going to feel pretty peculiar and maybe unusual, but I want you to get up out of your chair right now, pause the video, and I want you to go into your dining room, wherever your dining room table is where you eat dinner, and I want you to look on the walls and just see what's there. Like what is hanging there that's always been there, and then I want you to come back. I want to tell you about a story about a guy named Ned. Ned, when he's remembering back in his childhood, he remembers going to his grandparents' house and eating dinner at their big table, and right above the table there was this very, very bizarre picture, a strange picture, and it was a picture of two men helping a woman. And he recalls it being very strange. He says none of the people were particularly attractive, and you couldn't necessarily tell exactly what was going on. And he actually described this picture as remarkably unremarkable. And so as time passed and Ned's grandparents passed away, they of course passed this painting down to Ned's parents. And then when Ned's parents passed away, the painting came to him. And of course, as he inherited all of this stuff, he sold some things, he gave some things away, and the painting just got boxed up and pushed away. Years later, Ned was out in his garage and he moved a ping pong table, and there was the picture. This very bizarre picture that used to hang above his grandparents' table, the picture that he wondered about even as a child. Why was that there? Here it was in his garage underneath this ping pong table. And he thought in that moment, it's probably time to get rid of this. So perhaps I can send it to the auction house, try to sell it, and maybe get a couple $100 for it. Who knows? So he sends it to this auction house just down the road from where he lives in New Jersey. And they put it up on auction. And it starts at about $250. And from the beginning, it goes up, it escalates quite quickly, and it goes from a few $100s to a few $1,000s. And bidding continues and continues. A couple of European art dealers start phoning in from Europe to bid at this auction house in New Jersey. And at the end of the day, this strange family heirloom painting sells for $1.1 million. $1.1 million. This painting that Ned really never enjoyed, never really liked, gets sold for $1.1 million. Here's the thing, and here's what the painting looked like. I just want you to get a picture. This is what the painting looked like. So those of you that are art students, maybe you know this painting, because this painting is a Rembrandt. And it was just hanging in Ned's grandparents' house. And so this German art dealer that bought it says, "I've been looking for this painting my entire adult life. My entire professional career has been about trying to find and locate this exact painting." And a few months later, this art dealer that bought this painting for $1.1 million sold it off for over $4 million. This painting that looked remarkably unremarkable, that looked unrefined, that even looked relatively unattractive, was worth millions of dollars because of who made it. Because of who made it. Because everyone knows Rembrandt. Those of us that don't even know art very well, we know Rembrandt. And so why do I tell you this story today? The last several weeks, as we've been churning out videos, we've talked about Bible reading. And Bible reading, look, I encourage you to do that because I want you to know God. And I feel like that's a way where you can know God. We walked through the Easter story, and we talked about Christ on the cross and the resurrection and the victory of God over evil and sin and in our own lives. We talked for the last couple of weeks about prayer and what does it look like for us to have a conversation, for us to have a relationship with God. This ongoing conversation where I just open myself up to God, where I tell him what's going on with me, and I sit and I listen for what he will say. And as we think about what hangs above our dining room tables, I want us to think about what hangs above our own lives, especially when we ask the question, who am I? Who am I? I think we get all kinds of great answers to that in the Bible. If you think back to the beginning of the Bible, the first few pages of the Bible, it says that God made us in his image. So when we think about who am I, well, I'm a creature that's been made by God. And in the book of Ephesians, this is what Paul tells us about who we are. He says, "For it is by grace that you've been saved through faith. This is not from yourselves. It is a gift of God." God goes to this great lengths to save us. That should tell us something about ourselves. But he goes on and he says this, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." We are God's handiwork. Some translations actually say we are God's masterpiece. God's masterpiece. I want to encourage you today because I know a lot of times we don't see ourselves like that. Because even though we are created in the image of God, because of sin and human failure, we just struggle to answer the question constantly about who are we? Who are you? You are a creature made in the image of God. You are part of God's creation. God has sent his son down to save you and I, to do all of this work. And at the end of the day, you and I are God's handiwork. So in those moments where you feel like you are maybe remarkably unremarkable, I pray that God's Spirit speaks this voice into you and says, no. You are my masterpiece, and I will search for your whole life until you are found in a relationship with me. So I pray that you are blessed today. By God, I pray that you feel his presence. I pray that you hear his voice. And I cannot wait to be with you again. So have a great week, and I hope to see you soon.